Yo, what's up, gamers? Aaron Shack here with special guest acting Relic with episode 101 of the Shackcast. And I have to thank Andrew for this because he came up with the idea of sort of going back to 10 episodes out of the 100 that we've done, or just, 10 takes rather from episodes that we could revisit, see if you feel the same way, see if I feel different, or, just sort of talk about it and see where we land on things. But welcome to the show, man. Thank you for being here, and thank you for this dope idea. And you put a lot of the work into it, I'll say that.
Yeah, it was one of the things of I saw that Aaron was coming up to 100 plus episodes of the show, and I was like, it's worth, when you get to a milestone like that, using that as a point to either review what you have done, talk about what you wanted to do, and so on and so forth. Like, you can use that as a milestone point to think about what you have accomplished up until then.
And that's very true. I haven't really looked at it that way to go back and think about those pivotal moments and some pretty big discussions that we had in some of the early episodes where we tackled some heavy things. Okay, so what do we have here as our first one?
So the first one that we're going to go back and look at is Shackcast number 11, where at that point in time, back in 21, there was a lot of discussion going around about the differences between accessibility and difficulty, and there were a lot of opinions being thrown back and forth about what games require a difficulty slider and the difference of what is an accessibility slider and what is a difficulty slider.
Indeed, yeah. Okay, so we have some clips that we're going to share with you all today, and then we'll react to them. So we're literally taking a trip down memory lane and seeing some of the older takes that we have here firsthand.
About more things, the design philosophy behind Sekiro and FromSoft's work isn't even about creating difficult games. In Hamilton, an accessibility specialist and consultant who has worked with AAA and independent developers, explained that From Software's goal of creating a series that requires a high skill set is far from what its creator wants. Many assume that FromSoft's goal is to make games that require a high skill bar. That's not necessarily true. As Hidetaka Miyazaki said in an interview, their goal is not to make games for people who have a high skill level. Their goal is to make games for people who enjoy the feeling of success through persistence, which is a fundamentally different thing. It's an important distinction. It means if someone enjoys the feeling of success through persistence, but can't succeed no matter how much they persist, that's directly against the designer's vision. So, here's where we get into the nastiest part of the argument. Where often Dark Souls diehard fans will say, well, if you're not good enough, then don't play the game. Sorry, the game's just not for you. It's just too hard. And the game being hard is what it's all about. It's what I love about Dark Souls. We'll get into that more because, wrong. So, let's read that quote again. Many assume that their goal is to make games that require a high skill bar. As Miyazaki said, their goal is not to make games for people who have a high skill level. The goal is to make games for people who enjoy the feeling of success through persistence, which is fundamentally different. So what does that mean? It means as you play a game like Dark Souls or Sekiro, you'll fight an enemy and you'll kind of learn how they fight. The more you fight against them, the more you potentially lose a fight. You die, you go back, you fight them again. Hopefully each time you're learning something. You're learning what to do, you're learning what not to do. You're looking at your enemy and trying to analyze how they fight. Obviously, different accessibility settings like the combat speed and visual things can potentially allow you to see these things, even if you have a disability, allow you to know what's happening here and to move accordingly. So that is different from just making a game really hard that only the best people can play it. It's a very narrow distinction here, but it's very different.
Okay. I think that's kind of where we wanted to land on that one. So what do you make of that? What do you...
So no, that's like both your point and Miyazaki's point about that Souls games are not about a raw difficulty and challenging to see who's the best. It is about persistence and continuing to learn and grow as you come at that challenge. It makes a lot of sense given how much that man, Miyazaki, loves Berserk. One of the core themes of the Berserk manga and storyline is persistence. One of, like, the main character, Guts, is entitled by one of the side characters, a character called Skull Knight, the struggler. Skull Knight stands out to the side and goes, "Keep struggling, warrior. Like, keep going." And the entire story of Berserk is watching a man fight for his fucking life to survive. And that ethos of struggling and learning through persistence is what has forged the whole From Software ecosystem, I would say. And it's not just in the mainline Souls. It's in Sekiro as well. I'd argue it's now in Armored Core too. Like, Armored Core 6 is very much like that. Like 621, you are a struggler. You are an old gen pilot fighting for your fucking life against things that most other pilots have failed against. But through commitment and practice, you will get there.
Interesting. Yeah, I think this is a take I absolutely still agree with, and actually pretty well founded there. Do we want to move to our next video, which directly relates to this?
Yes, yeah.
This is something that you wanted to share with us.
So I saw, I was just going through YouTube at one point and I saw this, I think I saw the thumbnail and was like, what is that? And then I clicked on it and I just let the whole video play because I was so fascinated by what this thing is. So this is a new piece of technology. I believe it's been worked on and prototyped for many, many years, but it is a piece of adaptive technology that you slide into your mouth like a mouth guard, but acts as an interactive touchpad that can be mapped to devices, software, what have you. And it just lets you control stuff with your tongue. So the primary target audience is those that don't have the ability to use their hands or arms, so they would need adaptive technology to live their lives. So we can see it there being added to Apex, to different, like, this guy's video editing with
which is a crazy move. You know how finicky it is to move along the timeline and stretch out and figure out the one little freaking frame that you want to touch and be at. Oh my god. So if they're doing it, this is a good sign.
Their phone with it.
Browsing.
What's this person doing there? They're setting
code.
They're debugging with it for code.
I gotta go back. That's so crazy. They have the on-screen keyboard and they're just tabbing over letters and copying, pasting. Head tracking.
Yeah, and like even just this functionality is interesting to me, that it could be a new tracking device for like Yeah, allows you, so you'd get an exact mold that's sized to your mouth, much like you do for at a dentist for a mouth guard.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's using it to access Google Maps,
Wow.
look for stuff, get directions to the Whole Foods. This guy doing. So he's doing, this is sort of some of the initial, looks like it has some initial setup software to basically teach you how to use it. This is testing the accuracy of it, of how fast the connectivity between, this guy's playing
Smash Brothers, like
on a Switch. Which this to me is amazing because it shows that like not only are we dealing with like iOS, Android, Windows devices, we're also dealing with handheld consoles. So this person is organizing templates and
notice
like app development.
He's like paraplegic at the least.
Yeah, he like this would be able to change his life. He'd be able to do so many more things. Here's some of the further detailing of what you can do with it. This man's driving his chair with it.
That's crazy. And it's very precise too. He's not crashing, you know?
Yeah.
And now he's playing Mario Kart. Which is crazy.
This is so fascinating that, like, again, a company has seen a need for adaptive technology and sought to build a new piece of hardware that really hems in on giving people the ability to access and work with their lives. So I think, yeah, he was controlling the little rolling droid that was going with the young child there.
Aww.
Because I've not used that one, but I've used other app control droids that are made by the same company.
Ooh.
So we're looking at and testing out the.
Oh my god! And the radio menu here.
Yeah.
So you got escape, copy, paste, dictation, save, undo, all your very key features you would want as you're typing. And then this game, made with the MouthPad.
Yeah, and then let's just go into 3D modeling, shall we?
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Like, some of the hardest stuff that I don't even want to do.
Do with a mouse, yeah.
Yeah, with a mouse. Like, it's a pain in the neck, but you want to do it with your mouth? Okay.
Yeah. Now we're using it to connect to a phone to shoot video.
It's crazy.
Like, people can go to university lectures and take notes and work with their classmates. This guy's doing some of more of the chair driving functionality.
Wow. Very precise. All right, now we got PC gaming. Yeah, like World of Tanks on PC. Like, so many inputs you would have to figure out, but there it is. Like the stock market, Facebook sent a text message, Call of Duty.
Yeah. And the idea that it just works for all these different software tools. Now for sale in the US.
Wow. And
mental.
Proof of concept with it like working on the Switch, all these devices is huge. Which I'm curious if it'll work with Xbox's adaptive controller and if it could potentially be plugged into a PlayStation. You know, I imagine they want to do everything.
Like it's basically a Bluetooth device, so any piece of software that has a level of Bluetooth interaction, it should be able to pair with. Like, if you can pair your headphones with it, you can pair this thing to it.
Wow. That's super cool. All right. Let's see. What do you want to set up next here? We got another clip.
So the next one we have on the document is one of the questions that has been raised, or I think has been raised, is if you allow for accessibility and difficulty settings, how does that determine receiving achievements and trophies in the game? Where if someone can just use all these sliders to dial things back down and still achieve all the same trophies as someone who is playing at the normal settings, what is the validity of those trophies and achievements?
Yeah, which normally turning on like cheats and stuff like that doesn't count.
Disables achievements.
Okay, so clip here.
Week, but how does it
Go back here.
how does it, and this was another example that was brought up this week, but how does it damage your platinum trophy to know that someone else also got that platinum trophy, completing all the achievements in the game just like you did, but they did it on easy mode? It was challenging for them, it was fun for them, they did all the same things you did at their skill level. So some people see easy mode as a cheap
So that was
option.
the
I think that was
end
it.
of
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the end of your thought in there. So the thing that I put as a question to you, Aaron, is do you believe that platinum trophies and achievements really matter in our day and age of 2026?
I don't think they matter all that much, really. They don't exchange for any real world good. They don't get you rewards points for Xbox or PlayStation Store. There's already the guy who has 1 million gamer score. Like, you know, there's already people that have hit the biggest monumental goals, and you know, really it's just a collect-a-thon and to kind of prove that you've played a game to its fullest. And a lot of times in online arguments, I feel like it's used not in a way to showcase mastery, but that you've conquered and, you know, exhausted all the content. I saw a post about someone asking if they would remaster Watch Dogs 1 and 2 and you know, 4K, 60 FPS, everything. You know, try to recapture the original vision that was shown in the vertical slice at E3. And someone else said, "Nope, I don't need it." And then they screenshotted their platinum trophies for both games, and they were like, "It's over, done. I don't ever want to touch it again." I'm like, "Okay, dude."
Interesting.
So
okay.
it doesn't matter. And one last thing as to why it doesn't matter. We played Halo. Campaign evolved on Legendary, all 4 of us, and we beat it. The achievement didn't pop until this week, so like 2 weeks later. And so what I did was I played the game again by myself, and I turned on the modifiers, which up how much damage you can take and how much you can deal. And it kind of brings, even at Legendary, it kind of brings the difficulty down about where like normal or heroic might be in terms of. So it was like a pretty easy playthrough at that point. And it's like, so do I still deserve it after that? Or did I cheat?
Okay. So I have a little I went through all of our questions today, and I did a little write-up for some of them.
Yeah.
So for this one, I wrote, I think that platinum trophies and max achievements are cool to have in 2026, but they do not really equate to your ability or status as a gamer.
Yeah.
We now have things such as in-game status items to show off our dedication to hard work, way better than any achievement can. I'll give the example of the lethal helmet in Space Marine 2, the one that's got the cracked eye lens.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. You've played X amount of lethal level difficulty missions to earn that. We also have people making video series documenting their journey through a gaming challenge or adventure with a game that I feel better shows off your progress and story better than having the platinum trophy for that game. Because anyone can achieve these things and unlock these trophies. It is much more about how you tell the story rather than just having the item at the end of it.
Yeah, I agree. I when I was big into achievement hunting on Xbox, we had a club where we would just go into multiplayer games and cheese the achievements. If it was get 15 headshots in multiplayer, we're like, cool, everybody stand still. Let me get my 15 kills. Okay, now this guy gets his 15 kills, and we line it up. So that's not achievement. That's not skill. But I'll have all the trophies and I'll have the platinum or whatever, and I'll be like, yeah, I'm good at Call of Duty. But in reality, no, I'm not. Not if I did that.
So it's a nice thing to have.
It is.
But there are better ways of showcasing your dedication to a game, both internally with items, and we also live in the ability for you to record and like clip almost any cool action that you do in a game now.
Yeah, very true. But they are like a fun little feature, and I do.
Sure.
I enjoy it. Like, you get that dopamine rush when one pops, and that's probably the other thing. It becomes a bit of an addiction to hear that sound and see it pop up.
Of course.
And there's some games that I have all of them, and I'm really proud of it. But like, I'm not trying to go walk up to people and be like, yeah, I got the platinum on this game. Okay, so let's move on to our next one. Yeah.
Yes. So the next one was, surrounding further discussion of difficulty in Souls games. And you were equating it to, at the time, I think you had played, if not finished, Dark 3 and also beat Sekiro.
Yeah.
So you were talking a bit about your thoughts from your perspective there.
Looking to play the game on stream, have an enjoyable experience, and get through the story and enjoy myself in the Star Wars world. If I had perhaps started off with only the hardest difficulty as my only option, I might have just set that game down and said, you know what, hey, this is too hard. I might be missing out on a killer story and some awesome character development in the Star Wars universe, but I can't do this. A sad thing that would be. Let's see.
I think that was it.
People think...
is that the whole...
No, there's a bit more.
Okay.
There's a bit more, I think.
Adding easy mode takes away from the challenge that they seek, or that it might impair their experience of the game. But it turns out if you have them as options in the menu, you can just choose whatever you're most comfortable with. If a Souls game all of a sudden had easy, medium, hard, you could choose hard and go about your day playing Souls games the way you've always played them. So it wouldn't necessarily impact your experience. That's what all the entering of code and the game development and QA testing and all this stuff, that's what all of that is there for, is to make sure the experience can be tailored across multiple playthroughs on different difficulties, and that can scale. Easy mode could be simple pointers. It could be tutorial prompts showing up in the game. It could be giving you a tip when you've just died from a boss. Hey, this is, if you actually counter the lightning and send it back at Genichiro, you can actually deal some massive damage to him. You just gotta press LB, man, or RB. And it could be having visual or auditory warnings added to the game to sort of make it more I want to say it. It's like adding audio and visual events that would sort of make it more obvious that the attack that is about to hit you. It's nice to have that data of knowing, oh, when I see this color, that means I push this button, right? When you see the lightning bolts above someone's head in the Arkham games, that means you press Y or triangle to counter that move. And then you can attack.
So I think pause there.
If you see like the red light.
So we'll go across a few things here. We'll go backwards actually. So the color thing that you mentioned there, you basically predicted the Space Marine 2 teal and orange of like, okay, teal you can parry, orange you have to dodge.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that is an accessibility feature that is worth having in other games. I'd be interested to see what it would be like to put it into a Souls game, because right now you kind of just have to raw learn what is unblockable, what is not.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to sort of memorize moves and stuff like that. So I'd say the question that we'll start with here is, do you believe at this point in time, Aaron, that a From Software game needs an easy mode or difficulty selections?
Let's see. From an accessibility standpoint, I would say yes, but it's not necessary from a just in general standpoint of as like a regular, average, able-bodied gamer. Yeah, so it is kind of a multi-layered question, and I have a lot of notes on this too to share. Depending on if you want me to get into that yet or not.
Yeah. No, I think it's worth going into because the real conversation here that you were focused on in this podcast is, what is the division between an accessibility feature and a difficulty feature?
Right. Okay, so I think probably an even better answer than the one I just gave was, it's not whether it should or shouldn't, but it's rather about how it's done. So when we talk about difficulty and accessibility, just getting good, which is a common phrase used in the Souls community.
Souls community.
As you're losing, as you're failing, and you're cussing at the screen, and you look over at chat, oh, get good, bro. Just get good. Yeah, dude, I beat this boss one-handed with the greatest greatsword in the game, and I always play with a full strength build. You know, you get every critique in the book. So difficulty does not always equate to just making the game easy or easier.
Yeah.
Instead of easy, it's rather that you're making the game manageable. Some features are pre-packaged, like how stamina is refunded, grabbing a ledge anyway, even when you're 1 pixel too far away. So sometimes developers will program mercy, right? Like maybe you parried, but maybe it was, maybe it's just a split second off. But thanks to certain accessibility settings and the way that certain devs might develop a game, they'll be like, you know what, he was close enough. We're not going to get into the microseconds or anything like that. Let's see, these features are forward-facing. That's accessibility. So other things that accessibility could have, enemy aggression, how much damage they deal, how much health enemies have, and I'm going to bring up one visual asset here, and I'm almost certain you've probably seen this in your lifetime. You might have seen this exact image. But what is easy for me is not always easy for another person, right?
Right.
So an easier difficulty is often equated to less work. Like it's not as hard for me to play Halo on easy as it is for you. And this is where we get into the conversation of equality versus equity, right? So everyone's seen this image where it's like, oh, hey, everyone gets a box, and that's equality. Everybody can see the game, right? Except for the kid who needs accessibility options, right?
Yeah, he needs that extra box.
There's other documents that show, like, a wheelchair ramp, and the kid's in a wheelchair instead. So, like, you could equate it many ways. So then we have equity on the right, which is, hey, man, I don't need no difficulty settings. I'm an alpha gamer. Okay, you could still be that way, man.
Yep.
And then you have the guy in the middle that could be like one of us, where it's like, you know what? I like subtitles.
I like a few things.
A few things. Maybe a little mark above the enemy when they're about to attack me. That's cool. I'd turn that on. I like Batman Arkham. And then there's this guy who's like, I can't play the fucking game without some options. I'm not going to be able to see over the fence and watch the game. It's also like, you guys didn't pay for tickets, so why are you here? Okay, anyway, we won't get into that. Why are you guys getting a free view to the game? But we're not taking the analogy there.
Right, yeah.
So I think there's other concerns. Like, I think rightfully the hardcore fans have the don't water down the experience thing. Is that the experience of persistence through challenge and hard work needs to be honored, but how do you honor it is the question. It's rather than should it or shouldn't it, is like, okay, well, how do we do it for the guy that can't play at the skill level as you? Like, for example, last night I was playing Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls. I'm not a fighting gamer.
Oh, yeah.
I was fucking raging at the... Because here's what it does. All the fights in the game, fairly straightforward, fairly easy, didn't really struggle, never lost a round. I get to the final boss, and he's fucking esports pro gamer juggling me up the side of the map, and I think it was right of me to be upset and to be yelling at the game and being like, this feels unfair. It doesn't feel like Injustice and its story mode, where it gradually gets harder and harder, and then you get to that final boss, and then it's really hard, but you're able to overcome it because the game built you up to it. This game stayed at, like, Mario level 1-1 difficulty, and then at the end, they're like, oh, 8-4, fuck you, you know? And so I felt really mad at that. And because I'm not a pro fighting gamer, if it didn't have the ability to just knock it down after I lost, knock down the difficulty a little bit, I would have just been like, all right, guess I'm done. Guess there goes my $60 or whatever. So I think other concerns, don't remove critical parts of the game, right? Like we don't want to see notable boss fights from Elden Ring or whatever. Like, don't just take away someone's moveset or the elemental damage that they deal. Like, you want to preserve the original vision of the game, and you don't want to water it down. I think also that I brought up in both of these podcasts is kind of the quote, like, if you're not the best at the game, then you don't deserve to play, that sort of mentality of, well, this is only for the elite gamers. Yeah, like, if you don't get good, it's not for you, you know? Difficulty through accessibility, make the game available to a large audience, and I wrote down some other things that could sort of factor into accessibility. The rarity and stock of items that are available for you to use. AI behaviors, tool tips on screen, which if you notice, the older Souls games don't really have tool tips, whereas like more modern games are like, hey, you can block and parry the lightning strike with this, or like, if you're having trouble, go back to another zone and level up, you know, like it tells you things. Another one is not losing souls on death. That could be an option. It's been done in other games that are not Souls-likes, but are rather like action games that have souls that you're collecting as you're killing enemies. We wouldn't classify it as an exact Souls-like game. But there are roguelikes and other games that will let you keep your XP on death. Other accessibility features are screen readers, which Literally every game we've played in the last several weeks has had a screen reader active by default. As soon as we hit the main menu, Halo, Combat Evolved, press A to start. And then, you press A and it goes into accessibility settings, screen narration on. And then if you turn it off, okay, you don't need it.
Yeah,
but for the people that need it, they need it to get that far into the game. Because without it, they have to sit there and guess, or they have to hope that they have an able-bodied person nearby that can help them. Visual and auditory cues, which is something we've already kind of hit on with the blue and red lightning strikes. Remappable controls. Having a map as per Elden Ring, right? Huge, huge change of just knowing where to go in a Souls game can be like a burden. I think there's another thing with difficulty that we saw. We see it with Silent Hill. We also see it with Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. There is a puzzle difficulty, a naval combat difficulty,
separate
stealth difficulty, and mini game difficulty, and combat difficulty. So you can set your skill level. If you have no patience for stealth, you're not a stealth gamer, cool, put it on easy. It's up to you to enjoy the game how you want. Let's see. Oh yeah, Demon Souls, Deathloop, and Sniper Elite all have the ability to turn off invasions. Demon Souls Remake, rather. So that could be either just tailoring the game to the way you like it, or it could be potentially considered an accessibility feature. I have a few more things. We're almost done. Let's see. There could be cognitive difficulties, delays in inputs, mobility issues, attention disorders that you could have that would require accessibility options. I think some of these things might tap into things you're going to get into later, but Elden Ring's magic, blood skills, we could argue that that is a way to make games easier, so we might expand more on that later. If you're battling controls as you're playing the game, that can be an accessibility concern. If the UI is bad, and if you're you're trying to play the game, but you're not able to hit certain buttons in time, or you feel like the button layout is not intuitive to you, or if a game is only on keyboard and you're a controller guy or a mouthpiece guy or whatever it is, you sort of need to have that option to tailor it to how you want. Vague information, which I think Souls games are known for. They give you the vaguest quest lines where they're some dude just talks to you in the most vaguest way, and you're like, okay, I guess I'll say yes to this quest, and you really don't know until you reach a certain area that you're like, oh wait, is this what that guy said?
Yeah.
I can do this thing now, and if I choose to spare this guy, then I'll get a special item from him or something. So not having a map could be a lack of accessibility. And then the last couple things I have here. The quote from Cory Barlog that I used in the accessibility podcast, which Cory Barlog is the developer, game director of God of War 2018. And he said, accessibility has never and will never be a compromise to my vision. Accessibility means options, not easy mode. And that last thing I have is equity versus equality. Equality is giving us the same resources and opportunities. Equity is giving you things to get you to the same starting place, which is what the boxes would be. It's it's not just everybody gets a box, but everybody gets a box, the amount of boxes that they need in order to play the game at a baseline level. Then the game can be hard as nails, and then we can all compete at our various accessibility levels rather than we're all competing at our difficulty levels, right? So that's all I have. That's a lot.
No, I think that's a fair shake of that. It really comes down to accessible features are about creating equity with all people who want to experience the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the core function of them. I'm of the opinion that for some games, such as Souls games, I enjoy having I enjoy the struggle there. I enjoy learning through trial and error. And I also think that Souls games do have quote unquote easy modes, but you have to find them through the use of finding specific weapon combinations, spells, learning how to play co-op with your friends. So I like the discovery of that. And I like sharing it with people, but I don't wish to tell them the answer. I wish to nudge them towards the answer because I like watching people discover the answer as well. I think it's more fun that way. So I agree with you on your points of the accessibility and the slider pieces for all those different things. And I also believe that there are some games that absolutely need all of those pieces. And then I believe that there are other games, such as maybe Souls games, that need the accessibility parts, but I don't think we need all the difficulty fine-tuning. I think a core part of the experience is the challenge through persistence.
Yeah, and I think what you brought up about how things are in the game to try to make things easier, and as we did several different playthroughs of Elden Ring, we did the like standard sword and board paladin type guy. We had the mage type character that was dealing massive damage, but like I was a toothpick. If one of the bosses got to me, it was over. I think some people say magic makes the game easier. I think it's harder because you're a glass cannon. It's a bit of both.
Fucking coin flip.
Bullshit.
Magic makes the game easier.
Yeah.
Because I remember the final playthrough that you started, that we played for with a bit, was the Dex Bleed build.
Yes.
And you got to see what I had been running most of the game. It was like, oh, you guys have just been using this for 200 hours.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I was bleeding and taking bosses apart with that. So maybe the blood stuff is more easy mode, but you have to know how to get to that.
You have to discover it.
Yeah, that might be the problem.
I don't believe that
finding
needs to exist in every game. I think that is a specialized down to the creator's ideals. I thought of when you were talking about games that give you hints about, hey, you should be using this or this for certain bosses. That was added into Monster Hunter World and Wild, because we got to experience that firsthand. Where you get to Elachion, they stop you and go, hey, you need elemental damage to fight this thing. Do not go in with raw, because the whole game you were able to play raw, and then you got to Elachion and you got mulched if you weren't paying attention to elemental counters. Same thing happened for Omega Planetes.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was very helpful.
Yeah.
And also,
I've been playing playing a bit of the modified version for Wildlands now and doing Breakpoint. That is, I think, the perfect version of the difficulty sliders, where I can just go into my selection of checkboxes and sliders and tailor down the game that I want.
Yeah, I do like that quite a bit. That's a good example of how even able-bodied people can use accessibility options to either make the game easier in certain ways, or when you want that die-hard survival, oh, I can only carry one gun, oh, I only carry 5 bandages, you know, whatever, you know, hyper-realistic combat where everybody dies in like 3 shots or whatever, something like that. Uzu says the handler would tell people about elemental damage on Elatrion. People would complain that she won't shut up while failing. I was elected to lead, not to read. Like, she's literally telling you. With their non-elemental or wrong element weapon.
Right,
Yeah, trying to brute force it.
Damage through it. Yeah.
Or we even had people chime in the chat about how they were getting mulched by Latrion's attack, where you have to eat the jerky.
Yep.
And it's like he didn't know about the jerky. How would you know?
Mechanic until Uzu told me.
Yeah.
Like, that is one of those things where that is a mechanic that was always there. I just didn't pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm. Very true. And that's where it comes in. I brought up that items and the rarity and stock of them, or just even knowing to use them or what to use them for, can be half the battle there. And I have one more thing. I think it slipped my mind, but okay, you were talking about how co-op can also be much easier. How do you explain that?
For example, I believe that one of the pieces within a Souls game that can make the game easier and an easy mode is access to co-op, and there's sort of a couple different levels of this. So there's co-op where you're playing by yourself, you pop whatever your humanity of choice is, and in Elden Ring it was such that it was super easy to acquire. You just had to go pick flowers and then you could co-op with people. Whereas in the prior Souls games, humanity, human effigies, and embers were very finite resources. They were not easy to acquire.
Oh no.
So you would often pop them right before the fog gate and look for summon signs and go, okay, I need help with this boss. Who can I find that can help me? And if you were playing offline, you could get NPCs to help you. If you were playing online, you could search around with the different names and go, I'm going with that person. They look like they know what they're doing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then there's the further step up from that, which is co-oping with your friends, which they have further enabled in the latter games with the password system, where you can lock down to being able to co-op with each other no matter your level difference. And just the higher level character is scaled down to assist the lower level character. And you can be in a VC with somebody and you can literally communicate with each other and teach each other different things, show each other around, give each other tips, and for some bosses, call it like it's a goddamn raid fight.
Yeah. As you do, you're like calling out every move.
Bale, fighting Consort Radahn is a goddamn raid fight.
It is.
Those fights, I believe, in my heart of hearts, are designed for co-op.
Yeah, I have to agree, man. That was very helpful. And that, I guess, in a way, that's a sneaky form of accessibility, is having friends, and especially if those friends are better at the game and more leveled and know all the moves and all the call-outs to make, that's a huge advantage over someone that might not have that. Okay, and so do you still believe that's true even if co-op increases the health of the boss?
I fully believe it. Yeah. Because like I think about something like Fatalis. I would much rather do Fatalis with a team, even though he has more health than solo Fatalis, because I do not want to deal with that thing on my own.
Yeah, you need other people to like trade aggro.
Yeah,
and have fun. That's kind of the other thing. I think we blew through a couple of our questions here. Do you know where we're at?
We combined a bunch of stuff together. So we've checked off most of them. The only one that we have left in this first block here is, when do you, Aaron, consider a Souls game to be beaten?
Ooh.
Do people need to beat the DLC of a From Software Souls game to be fully checked off and like, I have finished the game?
I mean, I guess in a completionist way, it's like, no, you didn't. So it's like, have I really finished Dark Souls 3? Not really. I mean, I got to, the end of the base game and the credits, but then the DLC came out later, and I never had the chance to go back to it. But then with Sekiro, I played everything, wrapped it up. Elden Ring, I think we played it multiple times and literally went to every area on the map. My map is riddled with markers of like, okay, been here, got this. And I mark things. Even before I started each playthrough, I was like, okay, Moonblade's right here, the whatever. I would pre-mark things, so I would be like, oh, I need to go here, and here. And I would start strategizing like, okay, when can I access this area? How soon can I sneak around and get to that? So that's a huge option right there. And yeah, so I guess if you want to be like 100% accurate, you aren't. It's not done. There's DLC.
You do the DLC. I personally consider that if you hit end credits, we'll say, if somebody says, oh, I beat Elden Beast, I finished Elden Ring.
Yeah.
I would believe that they are done Elden Ring.
Yeah.
I would invite them to go and try Shadow of the Erdtree, but I do not think that gating their completion of that game behind finishing Shadow of the Erdtree and beating Consort Radahn is worth doing. I would agree with you. They have beaten Elden Ring and that they should try out Shadow of the Erdtree if they want to, because some of the best Souls game content is often in its DLCs. Nearly every single Soulsborne DLC area has some of the best bosses, environments, music, so on and so forth, and it is worth doing. Do I think it is a requirement to finishing that game? No, I don't. But I invite you to try it out.
I think that's a really fair way to present it. Yeah, I agree with you. I think I was just thinking as a completionist.
The thing is, I have further come to this opinion. In the past, I was on my fucking high horse about, oh, you haven't beat Koss in Bloodborne? Well, you've hardly started the game.
Oh, wow. With the pretentious voice and all. Yeah, like, it was really on the high horse.
So, I've refined my opinion over time, because the problem is, the second that you dip into that view of things, it then becomes an arms race of believing when you have truly beaten the game, because as soon as you start that path, somebody else is going to come up and it's like, well, if you haven't beaten New Game Plus and received all the endings, you've never beaten the game.
Oh,
well,
my
if
God.
you haven't done this or this or this, and the mountain that it then becomes is exactly what you're describing in your prior thing, Aaron, of the people who come in and talk about, I've beaten this game with one arm tied behind my back, playing with only a mouse.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that brings the elitism to the community, which is rough to deal with.
If you hit end credits on a Souls game, you beat that game.
That's an achievement, man. It really is. I remember when I hit it with Sekiro, and I was very proud of myself. Because that one's solo. Ain't no one gonna help you. You can't call in your friends to beat the boss for you or to help. God. Let's see. Did we exhaust the what's the line between accessibility and the difficulty slider?
So.
Think so?
I think we did, yeah. I think we've more or less covered most of that, all the topics in the podcast 11 there.
Oh, interesting. I think Uzu will like this part. Let me.
Yeah, play that. It's
that.
2612.
There we go.
Work. So, if the option were there for me to turn down the difficulty and sort of learn how to play the game better, to learn some of the mechanics better, if the mechanics hadn't clicked with me at some point in the game, which was probably after Madame Butterfly, I think, was like when I was like really starting to connect things, and the guy that was mentoring me, Uzu17, was he was kind of explaining like, yeah, you don't want to be like dodging and running away. You want to be in there blocking and parrying and occasionally a little dodge move here and there, and maybe using a prosthetic attack and just, figuring out which one of the sword arts that you want to use against these enemies. I might have taken an option to lower the difficulty just to better understand the game, and then if I ever wanted to try a run on normal or hard, then I would. And now that I've beaten the game, I am quite curious. I'm like, well, what do I do now? Would it be... I've played the game twice on the normal difficulty that the game comes with, so I do know that I sort of enjoy playing through the game at that current thing. But like, would I enjoy doing all the fights, ringing that demon bell and jumping in New Game Plus? I'm not sure. So I think I would enjoy replaying that game, but if accessibility or difficulty settings weren't there, even these that are sort of hidden within the game and sort of veiled, and really all they do is allow you to make the game harder, not necessarily easier. Now with some of the Souls games and Elden Ring, you're going to have the ability to have co-op players join your game, which could essentially, especially if you had someone that's maybe a higher level than you or a higher skill player, sort of take you through the game. You could experience the game in an easier format that way. And so people might argue that, if you don't play through the Souls game solo, then you're just not deserving. You're just not quite as good.
That's another good point. Yeah, right there. Oh, no. It's so true.
Solo Fatalis, you're not worthy of the title of Champion of the Sapphire Star.
Yeah, I
guess
I'm not a real gamer. Oh my god, if you don't solo... Yeah, I mean, we did have people like that as I've played the Souls games on the channel. They always come through, man.
They're
like,
always going to be around, no matter how much people have done to attempt to dismantle that elitism. It never stops existing.
Very true. I think we just have a little more here.
Didn't get the whole experience. Well, guess what? People play games however the heck they want to. Whatever difficulty they want, they might play a game in co-op because they prefer experiencing it that way. I like to play Halo in co-op. I absolutely loathe playing it in single player. I love to play it with friends.
That's fair.
Retrospectively, that's really funny given what you opened the thing with.
What?
How the achievement didn't work on co-ops and you had to redo it solo.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I kind of... But I feel like it was fun with all the modifiers on and making it a little easier, and then playing it in third person with the 60-round mag skull turned on. I've really enjoyed the 3 times that I played the game in the past few weeks. I did it on Heroic, and then TX joined in as soon as I beat the game and was like, all right, let's start it on Legendary. So we joined in and played it for like 10 fucking hours or whatever it was. And we beat it on Legendary. And then the trophy didn't pop for either of them, or the achievement rather. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, what if I solo it and never do chapter select and just... And it still didn't pop. And then now it's like a week after that, I was just playing the prequel missions again for fun, and it popped for no reason.
Yeah. That sounds like a bug on Microsoft's side, if anything.
I think so. We got 15 seconds here. Okay, so I was bringing up the point how I enjoy playing with friends, don't really care about the difficulty.
I just like it to be somewhat challenging, and usually when there's two of us, we're watching our backs, we're having a good time, we're covering each other. When we die, we laugh about it, and we try again. And so since there's two of us, I do feel like the difficulty needs to go up a little bit, but that's our choice. We're actually able to make that choice, whereas in some of the Souls games, you're not allowed to make a difficulty choice, even if you have multiple players. So there's options here, and there's maybe
the other aspect to this take at this time is at this point you had played Dark 3 and Sekiro.
Yeah.
This, I think I put it in a note here of this podcast came out 10 days before Elden Ring came out. So you've had a whole bunch of additional experience since then of like what Souls games can be like, especially in terms of their difficulty pits and valleys, and also what co-oping within a Souls game is like.
Yeah, so very true. We didn't have the Elden Ring experience before this take, but it's really funny that this was 10 days before Elden Ring. What a prescient discussion to have.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I would still. Yeah, I mean, I like what I said here, but I think I would also, with experience and time and with the Elden Ring, I'd be like, yeah, the way they implemented it was really well done. And while it might be nice to have a difficulty slider to when you're just playing with the boys and having fun, if you didn't want the health to be increased by 4 times, maybe bring it down to 3 or 2, because sometimes that's what you do. Sometimes you want to play Space Marine on lethal with a full team, and then other times you just want to crank it down to 2 and have some solo matches and just vibe and just crush every enemy of humanity, okay?
Yep.
TX also adds that he was playing on Steam Deck in his FedEx van that first night. Yeah. Dude was marathoning. He did that with Ready or Not as well. While I was streaming it, he just grabbed his Steam Deck while he was at Taco Bell and was playing on the Wi-Fi. And we got one of our best score rankings on one of the missions
doing that
when we did that. And I was like, okay, that's crazy.
Okay.
Also, we have to point out Uzu with the shout out. The Sekiro mentor who was like, yeah, man, don't play it like a Souls game. Don't be dodging and running away. You can do some of that, but Sekiro is a dance. It's a rhythm.
It's a rhythm game.
You're parrying. Yeah, it's all about parrying and deflecting and working in your attacks when necessary. So it was when that clicked and when I sort of started to learn the combat and was willing to, because I quit the game initially for a whole year because I got stuck at the Shinobi Hunter because he was kicking my ass, and I was kind of entitled in a way where I was like, well, I'm not gonna look it up because I don't do that. I'm a real gamer. And I've used strategy guides and websites all my life, but for some reason I was being a doo-doo head and just being very, very adamant that no, I want to play the Souls game my way. But when I watched a few videos and saw what people were doing, and I was like, oh shit, huh? So that thing that they were teaching us about dodging, but without picking a direction, you'll stomp on his spear and then fucking stab him with your sword. It's a dodge counter that requires incredibly precise timing. Once you do that, it's a very trivial fight. So they're trying to teach you a very important base mechanic early in the game that's really hard to do, and it is the first wall, I would argue.
Yep.
So Uzu kind of helped
games, but
break beyond that.
Doesn't necessarily mean that's the wrong way to play a game. In fact, I'll argue there is no wrong way.
Oh, hit with that quote.
Well,
no wrong way to play a game. All right. What do we have next here? That was
So the
probably the
next
most heated
one-
conversation was accessibility. It's very
No, like,
a
'cause there
very heavy
is-
topic.
Again, you could make an entire thesis around this.
Yeah.
This discussion, because there is lots of, and again, we are also coming at this from a perspective of two people who don't have any disabilities.
Yeah,
Like,
very true.
This would be even more impactful if you were to involve someone who has disabilities and requires additional accessibility controls or settings to be able to even play these games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are much further discussions that you have. Yeah, anyhow, the next chunk of our discussion is going to focus in on discussing live service games. So a while ago, 2 years ago now, Aaron and I had a talk about a variety of things, with the main topic, of course, being about live service games, because there were a lot back then. There have been quite a few since then. I feel like a little less now, as the trend seems to die off a little bit, or more accurately, studios are being killed off because of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll start in here where I believe you are talking about playing Suicide Squad.
Oh boy.
And I put a note in the document here when we were discussing this of, the era of Andrew coming home from working as a teacher to watch Aaron play Suicide Squad and grind.
That was crazy.
Warlock, Hunter, and Titan all at the same time. Further to that time investment thing, I remember I tuned into one of your Suicide Squad streams the other day, where you were working on unlocking the Joker, and that's a real balance that a development team has to strike, where you have to make your gameplay and gameplay loop fun enough so that when you do throw your player a long, hey, this is gonna take a while for you to unlock the thing, so buckle up, get playing kind of thing. So there's that very particular balance of, is the game fun enough to play that I'm okay with spending this amount of time getting to, when do we get to the fireworks factory? When do we get to the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? In your opinion, Aaron, do you think Suicide Squad hits that, where it's an entertaining enough experience for you to continue to play to unlock the things that you want to get?
No. It was not. I was having some fun here and there, but like.
All right, pause there. I
my God.
absolutely love that. No.
I'm going back. 'Cause that was crazy.
Unlock the things that you want to get.
No. It was not. I was having some fun here and. Okay. What? Anything else you want to say about that section, or just kind of?
I was going to say, so. It will quickly pause. Well, we'll see how quick it is. It's interesting. The point that I made about when does a grind stop being fun is basically the exact same thing that I wrote in my notes for this podcast, where the gameplay entertainment value has to balance out the time requirement to acquire the thing. Long grinds are perfectly fine as long as your game is engaging enough to keep going.
Indeed, I agree. As a Destiny player, Division, Warframe now, Monster Hunter, I would argue, kind of has a lot of grind.
I've written down a couple examples that we can talk about.
Okay.
We'll let the thing play and then come back to it, of what are bad grinds and what are good grinds.
Yeah, that's a good idea. All right. There, but like that, I put in 3 hours that night, and I felt like I only got to like level 12 or something. You got to get to like 35. And I was just like, this is not fun, and I'm not excited to do this. This is a job.
Right.
And I do want to play as Joker because I have heard, like, everyone's like, oh, he's amazing, his dialogue's fun.
Mm-hmm.
You unlock one cutscene, which is the thing that blows my mind, is you get one cutscene of Joker, you know, for unlocking him, and then you get to play as him, and then, of course, you got to spend another 30 hours or however long grinding his levels.
build.
Level him up, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that on top, it would have been better. I'm not saying they have to give him right off the gate, but it would have been better for us to get him at some point early on and use those first 35 levels grinding him, because then it would be fun. It's like, here's your new character, here's your new weapons that you're going to be unlocking, and the new grind, and the new enemy types, and variations of bosses or whatever. That would have been the way to do it. This is like a horrible way. Because like I said, I wasn't really defending it when I was saying this, but there are a lot of games, like when Destiny introduces new subclasses or new weapons, they drop new bows in Forsaken, the swords were added during Taken King. Like, anytime these new things came in, it took a little bit of a grind to get there to unlock them, but, like, it wasn't ridiculous. It wasn't, it didn't take you 3 weeks or 17 hours or... You know, and some people are finding exploits where they can get it quicker, but, you know, the point still stands. It does take a long time to unlock the core thing. And one thing that Avengers did right was when it did have its expansions, they got you on the ground playing as that character after about a, 5-10 minute cutscene or whatever. You know, a couple little things. Maybe the Avengers run into this new location and you do a quick little mission, but like beyond that, you're on the ground playing as Black Panther or Spider-Man or whoever they're adding. So as bad as even that game was in its execution, I look back at it as like, man, it was such a good idea and such a great premise, but like it was not the studio to execute that type of move. Crystal Dynamics was not ready for that.
Let's pause there.
And I don't think...
that
was...
We're getting into the next part
Oh,
of our
man.
here.
I was like, hang on, it's getting good.
So, what do you consider? What are some examples of bad grinds that are not worth the time other than Suicide Squad DLC characters?
Suicide Squad was pretty rough. Let's see. Destiny. I mean, there were probably certain points around that game where the grinds got bad with the seasonal battle passes, and if you just weren't resonating with what's new and the FOMO structure of the game, it was like... I used to always get every expansion and then play it to completion. But I think when they added seasonal content and seasonal passes, and you'd pay $20 and then you wouldn't even get to the end of it sometimes because you just run out of time. And if you're not maining Destiny, which I mean only the diehards do that, which I used to be one, to be fair. But after a while, I was like, I want to stream more games, I want to play more games, and the grind is not always that fun, and depending on whether you have friends to play with, that also alters the experience of whether it's fun to do all that. So yeah, some of those grinds got kind of rough, and rewarding you with exotic weapons every season for doing nothing was kind of shitty. Because exotic weapons used to be earned. They were quest lines, they were rare drops, they were raids. Yeah. So they definitely had some bad grinds. I also felt like Division at sometimes has disrespected your time, which is what a lot of live service games can do, where you can just grind for hours and hours and not get an exotic. And my buddy gets like 1 or 2 every time we play, and I'm like, that's not fair, but at least in Division you can actually share guns after you get them for a certain window of time. I don't think Avengers had an unfair grind. I think it was I believe out of most live service games, it was very respectful of your time, and
With your time.
as long as you played a challenging activity, you would get something good for that character. And then you could just keep grinding until you get exactly what you want, which I think is quite ideal.
Nice. Okay, yeah, I have two examples of bad grinds that I've had in the past that really, like, they were such to the point that they turned me off of the game where I uninstalled. First off is release form Darktide, when your resources were separated by character. So acquiring different currencies and stuff on one character would mean that it was locked to that character. So if I put all my time into leveling my zealot character, I'd have to put in the same amount of time to go level my ogre. It's like, no, this is stupid. They've then fixed this where all currency is shared across, including challenge currency. If you complete challenges on one thing, acquiring currency, but are like, hey, I don't need the gear, I can save those coins and spend them on my other characters. So that's one where they have fixed it. The other example I have is base release battle passes for Halo Infinite. The challenge system to earn progression was fucking stupid because it wasn't about, like winning games, coming top in the leaderboard for games, completing X amount of games, getting a killing spree. None of that meant anything. Like you getting all that and the guy performing at the bottom of the bin would receive the same amount of XP. The only person who was receiving more XP was the guy doing weird things like shade turret kills and sticking enemies from 10 meters away and all these niche things. And I was like, what are you doing?
Throwing the game to get his fucking challenges.
And the problem is they had a playbook for how this should work from Reach many years ago that they could have just yoinked and just used.
Yep.
So it's really disappointing to see that. And I agree with your point of the battle pass model that has a time-gated thing where you have to play that battle pass enough to unlock everything. I think those suck, and we really should get rid of them. And we have also seen games that have removed them. Like, that was one of the positives about Halo's passes
of Infinite.
If you get it, you can keep it forever. It's the nice thing about war bonds and Helldivers.
Yeah.
You buy the war bond, you've got it. You can just work on it whenever the heck you want.
I do love that.
Warframes is time gated, but there is no purchase option on it, so you are not spending money to get it, and the time required to complete all the levels is ridiculously generous. There are some people who can finish the whole pass in 4 fucking days, and they give you like 4 months to do it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like, the way those challenges work for that pass, for the Nightwave pass, are such that you'd have to really try to exhaust all your challenges. In the realm of positive grinds, you mentioned Monster Hunter. I believe that if the grind for Monster Hunter was not fun, that game would fall apart.
Yeah.
Because the gameplay loop of fighting monsters, acquiring new parts, and building new stuff is so good that game survives because that loop is so much fun. That is the reason that we can play that game for 10 hours and have a blast through the whole thing. Like, you're exhausted by the end of it, but you have so much fun.
That's very true, and we've done it every freaking Friday.
Right.
For the longest time.
It can become part of your core experience of life.
Yeah, I agree.
I would say that on the most part, Warframe has done a good job of making most of their grinds pretty good. There are some old ones in there grind-wise that are not so good, but they have retrospectively gone back to fix some of them by moving things around and adding new features in later ones. The most recent version of this is, say, for the newest Warframe series on Orion. The way that you acquire their components to build them is that you go play an objective mission that is fun to play, and at the end of it, you are guaranteed to receive a reward. So it might be a piece of them, like you would have if, say, when we were fighting the Jackal, you were receiving different parts of Rhino. And it just came down to the RNG of rolling, oh, we got all 3 pieces, now we can go build them. The other thing that some of these newer missions do is that not only do you get a potential piece, you also get coins that you can then go use at a particular shop to buy the pieces that you haven't rolled.
Ah, that is very generous.
No matter what, you will be able to acquire everything. You may not get them all to roll for you, but eventually you will acquire enough points to go purchase what you haven't rolled.
Okay.
The other grind that I think was worth it and was entertaining enough was getting through all the progression, levels, and resources to earn the Ornithopter in Dune.
Yeah, that's another game that had pretty solid progression. And I do respect these devs that have gone back and fixed things over time to make it better in a lot of these games. Yeah, I mean, even bringing up Helldivers is another example of how a game has adapted over time to customer feedback, as well as having those battle passes available over time. And, you know, we have times where we're like really wanting to play that game for a long stretch, and then there are other times where you're like, all right, I've had my fill, I can do these, you know, in a few weeks, and I'll
save them for later.
Come back to that battle pass. So I have a lot of incomplete war bonds.
For sure, yeah.
Which is, but it's kind of a good thing. We have a lot to do.
Is that they expand the number of medals that you can bank.
Yeah.
Because right now it's a little shallow, because oftentimes if you come back from a break, you hit all those major orders to the point that some of them don't even count.
Yeah.
That some of them don't get banked. So like right now, I have the game installed. I am not opening it until the update on the 12th.
Okay.
Because I want to use every single one of the medals that gives me on the new Warhammer bond.
Yeah. That's a good idea. Uzu brings up that's what that type of grind pushed him away from Destiny. Never got to the end game of a Division game. Yeah, I mean, I've always enjoyed the story mode of Division. The end game can be a little bit of a grind, and it's hard to know like what gear you want. I've played the extra hundreds of hours where you've already done everything there is to do, more or less, and all that's left is to like go in and replay missions at harder difficulties to get different weapon and armor drops. And some of that, it's respectful of your time. Sometimes you get really cool stuff, and then other times I just feel like I go all night and get nothing good. But at least I have fun shooting people, you know, in the game. Me getting 35 kills in the Crucible to get a blue, while the guy that was AFK gets an exotic. Thanks, Bungie. Yeah. It's always been a thing, I guess. Yeah. It's always the friend that never raids that gets the exotic, and then everybody else gets nothing at the end of an encounter.
Smiles in first last wish getting 1,000 voices.
No fucking way. Oh, you'd be the first person we kick. We may be friends, but today you're gonna kicking this guy out. That's crazy.
Okay. I think the next session is at 38 there.
Okay.
Where we talk about studios being, well, you know what? Actually, let it play
Just let
from
it
where
play
you were
in.
talking there, just to see what you say, because the next topic is around watching studios be forced into making live service stuff.
Yeah, and I was bringing up Crystal Dynamics, and I think Rocksteady here. So let's see.
Mhm.
I think Rocksteady is really great at their single player, narrative heavy, third person combat. Like, the combat in the game's pretty decent. It's pretty fun. But like, it's not engaging enough for me to want to do this for hundreds of hours on end. It's not a game that I would make like my main game. It's more of like it's a side chick of games. You come back to it maybe once a week if there's something there. But honestly, the multiplayer experience was so broken. There was so much lag and bugs, and some people couldn't even get past the login screen at the beginning of the game where you log into your WB account. So, I mean, there's still people probably to this day that can't get in and play. They're just waiting. They bought the $80 collector's edition. They can't get in. But yeah, I think this Joker thing is wrong. And then beyond that, I haven't got there because I haven't unlocked the guy, but everyone says there's no story edition in this season yet. Now, there is a second half of the season coming in a few weeks, but I'm not very excited. They're gonna have to really spin things around and say like, hey, oh yeah, this next part of the episode is gonna be, we're gonna tell you a little more about like, oh, you think you killed the Justice League? Well, actually, they were clones. Or, oh, Batman's back. Or, like
that. Yeah.
Something like, where's the follow-up? Because the ending of the story dropped dead. Like, we killed the final boss, but, like, there were a lot of big questions, and it felt like we got dropped off a cliff story-wise. And it's not in a good cliffhanger way where it's like, tune in next time, same bat channel. Like, no, it was like, did you forget to upload the last cutscene into the game? Like, like it just rolled credits, and I was like, dude, did you guys forget something? Like,
it's on somebody's hard drive with marked as to be edited further down.
Like
it's still
somebody
in the
didn't
rough
edit it.
cuts.
Yeah, someone forgot the final cut. We're gonna have to wait. So yeah, it's not great. Not a good example of a live service game, and I don't know if it'll make it a year. Because that's the plan. They have 4 episodes. They have four seasons, 4 characters. They got Joker. They got someone that looks like a Freeze character. Someone else I'm not sure I remember. And I think Deathstroke is the last one.
Pause there for a second. I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it like, are the servers still up?
Yeah. Yeah. We can go back and play. Don't worry, guys.
Interesting. So that one can still be played.
Suicide Squad and Avengers are still up. I might go back to Avengers soon. I'm feeling it.
Feeling the itch to do it. Okay. Yeah, let's skip ahead to 38 to see what we were saying there. There you go. Yeah.
Further to one of the points that you made along the way there, where, yes, it is very important that the studio that handles a live service game is just a studio that understands how to do a live service game. Forcing live service upon a studio that is traditionally known for single player, like release and done games, as it were, a Rocksteady where they put out Batman games where it's like, hey, play the game. It's maybe, say, 10, 20, 30, 40 hours long. You explore your thing, you get your end credits, you're done.
Yeah.
Your experience is over. Forcing that studio to then pivot and have to do live service because the publisher says you have to do live service now, it just destroys what creativity that studio might have. I think of the example of, say, Bandai Namco went up to From Software and said, next Souls game has to be live service. How much that would destroy the way that Souls games are designed, where they're designed to be release, play it, finish it, and then play co-op with your friends if you want to, but this is the complete package, it's done. We might add a DLC later, but sometimes it doesn't need it.
Yeah.
My favorite example of that is Armored Core 6. Could Armored Core 6 get DLC? Absolutely. There's 100% ways of doing DLC missions, if not just more free DLC. What they've done free DLC for it, where they added new weapons into the shop that you can get. But it doesn't need it. It's a done package. It's done. They don't need to touch it anymore. They can go work on other things. They don't have to touch it. They can go back and do balance changes for PvP, but the core experience of the story is said and done. There's nothing more that they need to touch about it. Whereas, say, my favorite example of a live service game that I think works well is Warframe. Because two key things. One, from the outset, Warframe was a live service game. It was a bare bones box that they put out for free and said, we will steadily improve this box, add more boxes to it, and slowly build us like a collection of a castle around it, if you will. It slowly, because game's been out now, they just hit, what are we at, 11-year anniversary? Is what it was.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Digital. Where the hell is it? Yeah, 11-year anniversary on March the 20th.
Sheesh.
I have played. I realized the other
Wow.
day when I was thinking about notes was I have played Warframe since 2012. I have played it for nearly its entire
I believe
life
that
cycle.
assumption
I
was
played it
off.
from
I believe
basically when
I played it
launched
from
on
2015 onwards.
and I have seen it
Oh,
evolve
okay.
and change and grow as it were. And I gotta say that
So
Digital
I'd say
Extremes
pause
knows
there.
what they're
Yeah.
doing in terms of
Interesting.
Yeah, of just the point of studios that have been forced into live service, there are very few that have survived or worked well. So I have a list pulled up here of some of the ones that I thought of that had this happen to them. So say for example, BioWare gets Anthem. Anthem doesn't do well.
Yeah.
Studio, like, BioWare's alive in quotation, but
Yeah.
game's dead, servers are dead. Probably most of the staff left to go work for other companies.
Yeah.
Bluepoint gets handed a God of War live service game instead of remastering all the PlayStation games that they could have been working on. Kill the studio, kill the game.
My God.
Platinum gets handed to do Babylon's Fall, a supposedly live service Platinum action game. Game's dead, servers are dead. Studio exists, but only because they are Platinum and they're able to scrape by doing their thing.
Yeah.
Rocksteady with Suicide Squad, we already spoke of. Ubisoft with Skull and Bones.
Oof.
I don't know if the Skull and Bones servers are still up. I never
Think
played
so.
the game.
I think they are.
But so much so that, like, they finally just made the game that it was supposed to be, which is just a nicer looking Black Flag.
Yeah. Don't forget Hyperscape. Remember when they did a battle royale? They did Hyperscape, Ubisoft?
Well, the next
That's
one
gone.
I have is X Defiant.
Oh no, not X Defiant, not the next one they did.
Which that one, like, that was during the time of watching studios just light money on fire.
Yeah.
Where that, like, that game's dead, that studio's, or that server is dead.
Yep.
I think that team has been then consolidated into other teams.
Yeah.
you have oddly one that kind of fits my bill of being a studio that was going to come out and produce a live service game that was unfortunately killed, which is Wildlight with High Guard.
Mm-hmm.
Where they had intentions of creating a game that was going to last a little bit longer, but through various factors got killed. Same thing happened with the most iconic of all now, which is Firewalk and Concord.
Oh man, yeah.
I'll also throw up Tripwire Interactive and Killing Floor 3. Killing Floor 3 is not dead yet, but they basically destroyed their entire franchise with the way that they ran, because Killing Floor Fleet is so far away from what a Killing Floor experience is supposed to be, where, much like we said, Killing Floor was a released finished product.
Yeah.
It was, here's the game, here's a bunch of levels, we'll maybe add stuff later on. But it was basically a done finished product with additional content that would come in.
Damn.
The last one I have is Sony's London studio, which was working on a co-op game and then was like, no, we can't afford you. Bye.
That hurts.
I have to imagine there are other examples. Like you put up one there of the Battle Royale from Ubi. Are there other examples of traditionally single-player studios that got roped into making live service that were then killed?
I have two examples of ones that weren't killed. You had Insomniac making the multiplayer Spider-Man game, but then that got canceled after the hack. You also have Naughty Dog doing that Last of Us multiplayer online thing that got canceled, because I think they talked to people at Bungie and other studios, and they were like, listen, you're never going to make single players games after this. Like, this is your game. This is your golden goose, for the rest of, however long you want to support it. You're not going to be able to dedicate resources to other things. You're going to have to work on this as your main thing, and you're going to be known as a live service studio moving forward. And I think they just decided, like, nah, we want to still make story games and tell, new stories in new places. I'm trying to think of some other games that might have... I can think of games... There was Knockout City, the dodgeball game that came out during COVID, I think. That one died. But, it wasn't a traditionally live... It's just an example of how futile live service games can be.
Yes.
Look at the state of Marathon. Look at where Destiny is now. One of the best updates was its last one that solved a lot of problems and quality of life issues and finally stopped the endless grind. Like, now you can just have fun and hop on and do stuff and experience the things you want and grind for the things you never got. There's something kind of nostalgic in that, that you can finally just rest. You don't have to be edging on the next DLC that's coming out and trying to prep for it. Yeah, I can't really think of any other historically single player. Well, oh no, we do have another one. Yeah, shit. So it's Sega with Crazy Taxi. They are doing a cops versus cabbies, and then there's like a straight up cabbie, kind of like Fare Wars on the PSP. It was like a racing mode where you're all delivering your fares, but you can crash into each other and then steal the fare, essentially. It's interesting. That could be potentially a really dumb decision. They're not making the game multiplayer only, but it's like it's a philosophy change from single player arcade game to and they mentioned at one point how they kind of wanted to make it a battle royale somehow. But I don't I think that might have been abandoned, possibly, in just going for more traditional multiplayer. But it's very interesting when studios change like that, and you go through a huge financial hurdle, and it's a wonder that Rocksteady and Crystal Dynamics are still open after what they did. Yeah.
So I would say, so I have a couple that are examples of studios on the other side of the coin that are living. And there's kind of it's a little more apparent to see why they are. So I'll give you the example of something like Fortnite. Fortnite comes out as a multiplayer defense against zombies game, releases a battle royale for fun, realizes that that one's really good, and then pivot, and then have the backing to basically rebuild your company around doing that and making that really good.
Yeah.
Something like League of Legends comes out, multiplayer, free to play with a monetization model, and just go. Dota 2, free to play with monetization, go. FF14, multiplayer MMO that launched poorly but then reset itself and has now become basically the largest MMO in the world and continues to be. The example I gave on the past podcast of Warframe, of being multiplayer, free to play with monetization, and further refining that model and expand. I would say something like GTA Online, where multiplayer, free to play with a asterisk where you have to buy the game to be able to play online.
Yeah.
But with also an additional monetization model where I'd love to see the dividend split between how much Rockstar made on selling copies of the game versus selling shark cards.
Woo!
Because it's probably kind of gross.
Yeah, I imagine so.
I'd say the newest one now is something like Marvel Rivals, where focus of being multiplayer, free to play with monetization, where the game is good enough and the environment of playing it is good enough and all the core content is available for you to play, and then we're going to sell you shiny hats.
Yeah, that's a good example.
The other weird one that I thought about while doing this, of single player studio being pivoted into live service, is Saber with Space Marine.
Oh shit.
Because Space Marine technically at the beginning of things was really a boxed released game of like, here's the campaign, here's the multiplayer, and here's the co-op mode. And then people really latched on to the co-op mode. I would say the co-op mode more than multiplayer. And they were like, well, shit, we can just keep this thing going if we want to. And like,
so much so, yeah.
Again, they totally could have stopped working on this game to focus in on making Space Marine 3.
Yeah.
But they're committed to being like, you guys really like this and seem to keep paying for these passes, so we have the structure to keep making this.
And that was very noble of them to continue doing that even while announcing Space Marine 3. They're like, no, we got years of content. Don't worry.
They could have said no. There are many other studios that would have said no.
Yeah, I agree. That's a very very interesting move there, and a good one, I would say. Huh.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can move along to our next clip segment, which was about consistency of updates. How often are new pieces of content being released for a game?
Oh, I think there was one thing we didn't mention. Where is it?
oh, the note about we released this podcast before Night Rain
Yeah.
came out.
How
And
do you
we-
feel
we
saying
made-
that
we
about
made the
FromSoft?
joke of like what it would be like. But
Yeah.
the thing is, Night Rain's
Yeah.
like it's really no different than a release from software game where they released the game,
It is
they
full.
released the DLC, and then they did some balance patching, and they're like, all right, that's it.
Yeah.
We ain't touching it. You guys go play.
It is in a really good state. But yeah, very surprising that they could pivot to like a full-on multiplayer.
They could have sold skins. They could have added a whole bunch. Like again, they could have monetized that fucking game out the wazoo, but they
Yeah.
didn't. Because they're like, nope, it's done. Here you go.
Just
They're
not
probably
us.
working on whatever the heck the next game is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll bring it right here.
Another example that I have on my list here of a game that I think is good and having it as a live service experience has been good. But the other antithesis to live service that you kind of touched upon with Avengers is that your content release schedule has to be a pretty consistent drip so that you can get people that come back. You have your initial release, and then slowly you add more and more and more and more to that release. And as we've sort of discussed throughout the show, it's okay to charge for those releases, but you got to make it worth our while. But you also have to be consistent. You have to remind people that like, hey, this game exists and there's more stuff. My example for this is Dark Tide. Dark Tide's a really good game. I really like playing it.
Yeah.
It has
He really likes it.
amazing combat.
I really
amazing
like it,
music,
guys.
in a really cool world.
We do.
Content-wise, I use the example of it is the best looking and sounding kiddie pool I have ever interacted with, where it is super fun to do, and then you look at the depth of how much there actually is to do, and you go, where's the rest of the game, Fat Shark? Also, this game's been out since December of 2022. We've received, I think, 4 new missions, a class rebalance, a couple new weapons, and a bunch of bug fixes. We need more stuff.
That's a little light, yeah.
And here's the thing, they've hinted at what this game should be. Aaron and I, we fought the twins. The twins is a really good fight.
Yeah.
Like that's
was.
when Dark Tide's at its best, where you are on your back heel running in a circle, making sure you don't get clipped by attacks, and you are having an intense fight.
That was like a raid.
More of
that whole mission.
please.
Yeah. It was like a raid out of Destiny or something. That whole
Like,
mission was crazy.
But like the twins took an entire year to come out.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, can't be that slow. There needs to be more, please. I want to like this game more, and I want to keep playing it, but I am a constant span of, is there anything new out for Dark Tide? No, uninstall. I'll wait
Yeah.
for when it comes, when there's new content, so I can reinstall.
Brutal. Sadly, that's been my approach to the game. As much as I love it, and as much as I love the Vermintide games, I
We
was
can
like,
pause
right,
there.
you know, if they're not churning out, yeah, that
Yeah,
shows how
I'm
important
just-
it is.
Of your and what game do I still have installed? Space Marine 2. Because
Yeah,
Space
never
Marine 2 gets
uninstall.
updates, and there's enough stuff in between updates to keep me entertained.
They have a good cadence. Like every month, they at least tell you something, even if there's
Yes.
nothing new. There's always a post of like, hey, here's what we're working on, constant communication. And they always have a little something. Like I feel like it's very rare that we have a month where there's absolutely nothing. Like sometimes they'll just be like, hey, we did a few new weapons, or like, oh, there's a new armor to chase after or something simple that they could churn out quicker than a new character.
What do you think is, if you had to put it down to a number, how often does stuff for a live service game have to come out?
That's tricky. Because I have seen all different schedules. Like Destiny 1 started out with like the 1 or 2 big updates a year. And I feel like that really worked for Destiny, and they probably should have kept that model. Because I think once they started doing seasonal stuff and trying to do like updates every 3 to 6 months, like they were trying to do more than 2 updates and make them smaller. They tried like 4 episodes a year one time, and they were doing the seasonal stuff. And once you fall off the horse, it's so easy not to get back on, because you're like, well, I missed this and I missed that, and I didn't do this and I didn't buy that DLC, so I guess I'm done. But yeah, I think Space Marine has an excellent cadence, even if they're not coming out with new stuff, they're communicating with you. I think Division does that better now, and I feel like they're cycling things in. I just feel like it's got to be between like 2 to 4 updates a year, but with Arc Raiders, an interesting example is the player base is fleeing the game now because they're not getting enough updates as frequently. And I think the developers were really honest, and they said, we want to make bigger updates and better ones, so we're going to step back. But they got people used to, at launch in the first 6 months or so, they dropped like 2 or 3 new maps and had multiple seasonal events, and things were moving very rapidly, and that was not sustainable in reality. And I think studios learned that the hard way, whether it's Destiny, whether it's Division, whether it's these guys over at Arc Raiders. Yeah, you can kill yourself by doing too much, but then you can also kill yourself by doing too little. And we also bring up Rainbow Six's health update, right? Where they just took a moment to diagnose the game and how important that can be sometimes. Yeah.
I think I agree with you, Aaron. It depends on the game.
Yeah.
Like, it can be anything from every 2 months to quarterly to even longer spans if you're dropping larger updates. But I think the thing that you touched upon there that makes something like Space Marine 2 so good is monthly communication. Telling your consumer base or your player base monthly, what are you doing? Because Space Marine does that. Warframe does that, even though Warframe updates might be, it's all over the map how frequent they are in terms of proper full large release content drops versus smaller content drops. They're all over the map in terms of when stuff comes out, because that's how development time works. You don't honestly know when stuff is ready, and you want it to be ready before you put it in the game.
That's true.
So I think that it's up to the developer to schedule when stuff comes out and to make sure that it is ready for release, so that you're not releasing broken stuff into your game. And we have more than enough to play in the meantime, but I think that monthly communication is what sets certain studios apart. Is if you have that monthly communication, your customer base and your player base are more breadth of what's going on, and they are always thinking about what might be next.
Very true. You also remind people that your game still exists in an ocean of competition, and with everybody doing updates on the same freaking day, you can get lost in that flood. And I think another example was Marvel's Avengers. Horrible communication, inconsistent updates. There were months at a time where they would just go dark and not talk, no releases, no nothing, no interaction. And then when they had something, they would pop it up. But, then the media and content creators would chew them apart, and you have to deal with a fan base that's hungry for stuff and that's angry and brutal in their criticisms at times as well. So I think that was a really bad. I think they needed a better plan, a better team, better marketing, better communication with the fan base, because at a certain point it was all content creators and rumors and data mining that took over the publicity of the game. It was all about, well, this is what the data miners found, so here's what we know is coming, so we're reporting on all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. Whereas, with Destiny, they don't really need the data miners. They're still there. They still do their thing occasionally, and they learn about cut content and whatnot. But for the most part, as long as they're communicating that there are updates, people will chill out, and everybody can somewhat get along, and you can be prepared for updates and have some faith in the game. Do we have more on this clip, or was that the end of it?
I think that was the end of it. The other one that I just thought of is Monster Hunter.
Oh, yeah.
Monster Hunter's space between updates can be very large. Like, again, for Wilds, we're waiting until next year for that update to come out. But it's fine because we know they're going to communicate with us in the meantime of further updating when that's going to happen and what to expect to be prepared for it.
Yeah, and them releasing those charms again to let us hunt those monsters again, it kind of gives you some busy work. And some of the things they added, like the 10-star monsters and the big challenges, like, I mean, I know some of you might have already done all that, but like for me, I haven't done most of it. We're still getting through it. So it's like there are some higher challenges to strive for, and I haven't done Omega, Savage Omega. So I mean, we had to build up to a lot of things actually, and 10-star what's his name? The oil guy, Gorga.
Oh, New Udra.
No, not New Udra. The other guy.
Oh, Gogmazios.
Gogmazios. Yeah, we got to do like the hardcore Gogmazios. Yeah, we just done 9. So yeah, when there's plenty of grind and plenty of extra stuff to do. And also we have other games. We can always just pivot to another Monster Hunter while we wait for the new one. Did I hear warm up Savage Omega? That's crazy. If we get to that point, man, we're on a new level, boys. That's the new warm up monster. If it's not Puke and Kulu, it's not doing that trio. It's Savage Omega. We've ascended to some other plane here. He also says Destiny is fun now. Please play it with us. I second that. I think that's an excellent idea. If Acting Relic is ever interested in diving into the world of Destiny,
dust off my Destiny 2 copy.
Yeah, we can be shepherds through the new content and have a blast. Yeah. Let's see. So we're on the last one here.
Yeah, the
of
last
this section.
question here. Yeah.
Right. Grab that one.
Talking about survival of games, mainly around a buzzword of, I don't know if I use the word player count here, but we're gonna use it in our discussion.
Sure, absolutely. All right. And then, of course, the Evil Dead game is kind of struggling, but it was fiercely loyal, and it was really good, and it had, like, the original cast, and, it paid homage to the entire franchise. You had maps from Army of Darkness and all the movies, and you had villains and demons and heroes from each movie and even the TV show. But, I mean, it just fledged out. Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out recently, and that one seems to be doing all right. But it's canceled. It's gone. DVD's going to outlive it all.
DVD's the juggernaut that, continues to survive and just keep going on. One of my other examples that was stuck in the midst of all that was a game called Depth, which was asymmetric, 4 players as divers, 2 players as sharks. And the way that Depth plays, the way that you as the shark hunt down people is Because from shark perspective, it's third person. You see your shark move around, and like each of the sharks have different special abilities. Say like hammerheads, they have really strong ram attacks, so they can literally bust through walls of these sunken ships and grab a diver and run off and swim off with them. Or if you have a thresher shark, you have this whip attack with your tail. It was so cool, but they're in the midst of sunsetting their game. They're kind of like, hey, it had its cycle where it came out and did its thing, but it just like it didn't like strike that chord enough where it ended up working and having a mainstay. And it kind of sucks because like I've looked at the studio that made Depth, and a lot of their other like releases just didn't go so well, but Depth was such a cool concept that just like it didn't find enough of an audience. And I think that's another thing that can happen with live services, is that you need that critical mass of people playing, streaming, making content, all that stuff that goes on for the studio, both the developers and the publishers, sometimes they're the same entity in turn, to be able to say, yeah, let's keep planning out content and releases for this game, and let's keep adding to it as it goes.
When we had games like Knockout City, where it's a dodgeball game, and it died within less than a year, and we had a whole bunch of games follow that same route. I think Foam Stars just came out, and it's similar.
I think Foam
to
Stars is
Splatoon
dead
in
too.
some ways, but it's actually pretty different.
I remember it.
And then of course you have examples of other live service games, you know, but they don't have, the problem is with games like Knockout City is like you don't have a big brand behind it like Marvel, or you don't have Bungie, which is like, this was just on the tail end of Halo, and it was like, what are they going to do next?
And
well, whatever they do next,
pinned as this is the future.
Oh no, it's still playable.
Right. And they had us because
Foam Stars.
they were like, oh, we're going to do like science fiction, you know, meets like kind of mythical RPG stuff. And we were all like, yeah, man, take your time and let's see what you cook up with. People were engaged. But it's hard to do that when you're just nothing. You're coming up out of thin air with an idea, whether it's Depth or whether it's Knockout City. It's like, sure, dodgeball is really fun, but is it so fun that I'm gonna buy the battle pass and play every day, all day for 10 years to support the development cycle and keep everybody with a job? That's tough.
Another on top of that, the other one was Rumbleverse.
That's another one.
Wrestling battle royale game.
I think that one's
I
dead.
played it, and it was so much like
Damn.
the way that the combat worked and how you could build and play and all the interactivity that you had there. It was a really tight, well-made game, but it just didn't have the critical mass of players to justify to stick around. So they sadly
Wait, what? Rumble what?
Rumbleverse.
Rumbleverse. Oh yeah, wasn't
this game? Yeah.
Okay.
Battle Royale wrestling game. Made by Iron Galaxy, a absolute champion of fighting games.
Crazy! What a wild move. I think we have. Do we? I think we have a little more here.
had to kill it off.
You know what else is around? Naraka Blade Point, the battle royale.
Naraka still survives.
Kind of Japanese.
Naraka's
themed characters,
adapted.
where it's not about shooting each other. It's more melee focused, even though there are some ranged weapons. Kind of an interesting twist on things, and it's got a good genre. It's definitely well monetized. There's lots of characters, lots of costumes.
I think you really have to stack your game full of stuff like that, and it's got to be constantly changing and evolving and growing. If we look at Rainbow Six, they're celebrating
Right.
probably 10 years or more with Siege at this point, where they've added so many new characters and maps,
Yeah.
and they several times they have had to like stop releasing characters and say like, okay, this is the health update where we're going to get rid of cheaters, we're going to change different aspects and rules of the game, or we're going to revitalize
Rebalance
the
these
servers.
characters so they're not a 100% pick rate on
Exactly.
character selection.
Yeah, there were so many things over the years that they had to make little tweaks with, and they would have health updates, and some games seriously need those. But they were
Yes.
lucky that they were able to do those things and pivot. But Tom Clancy definitely has, name recognition. They had really solid gameplay, like Destiny does, like Warframe does, like Overwatch, like Apex Legends. They all have really solid gameplay at the core that makes you want to boot up that next match. Because you enjoy the flow of the gameplay, and not every game has that. That's a good point. So I think we talked about how many games have we seen die off to lack of critical mass of players. What's the next one? Can their second life for games run on community servers?
So, yeah, unfortunately, we've seen quite a few games die off because of lack of, well, and it's this weird thing of whether it's a lack of player count or other factors that we are not privy to as consumers and players. Lots of people like to use player count as I kind of wrote this little piece here of player count is the new buzzword since 2025. It is the number by which Luddites deem what is good and bad.
What a use of Luddites, man.
Well, when you listen to all these people talk about, oh, X game is dying because of the numbers, or X game is thriving because of the numbers. No, that doesn't deem what is good or bad. It deems what is popular. Like games that have tons and tons of players right now, is that sustainable? Every game is going to experience a drop off after it becomes not the latest new thing. It's the dependent of what does that line graph look like in terms of the drop off, and does it have a return?
That's very true. Destiny had a big downward curve after Lightfall, and that was huge, and they hit some of the lowest points that they hadn't hit since Curse of Osiris, which was one of their first rough updates that they did that kind of didn't go according to plan. And then you have games like Marathon where people are all over social media and YouTube, making videos, oh, Marathon's dead, and then the thumbnail, it's the player count going.
It's the player count.
Which, I mean, it is low. It is like 5,000 to 10,000, but we only have PC numbers. So also devs will point out how we have an incomplete picture, and that player counts are not the end-all, be-all. Because some players, whales, could spend a lot of money, and it could be a small amount of people doing that, and it could sustain a game, and that's notably what the High Guard devs said. They were like, oh, we don't need a lot of people supporting our game. We could do just fine with a small, dedicated bunch. And then they kind of shit the bed on it, but it didn't work for them. But.
And then there's the people who look at something like, oh, Dune is dead, like nobody plays it anymore, and it was terrible, and it's like, no. Yes, the player base for Dune Awakening is down. It is lower than it used to. They, in fact, had to consolidate servers because of this to make things better for their ecosystem. That game has never been bad, though.
No.
It has gone through its own life cycle, and is probably doing even better now with the changes that they have made.
Yeah, they took time for their health updates, and they've. I think every bit of content that they've added and the solid base that they built on has been really good. I don't think there's ever been a doom and gloom moment, but creators kind of want to do this like they did with Destiny and Anthem, just take us on a roller coaster of the game is saved, the game is dead, the game is saved, oh my god, we're so back, everyone. Oh, but now it's dead.
There can never be a middle point. There can only ever be a supreme positive or a supreme negative, because that's what unfortunately sells.
We're starting to see this with single-player games, even like with Starfield. I remember when it came out, there were people, oh my god, look at how many people are playing, it's amazing. And then, like, you know, a couple months or whatever, the drop-off after people finish a single-player RPG, they were like, oh my god, Starfield's dead, it sucks, it's the worst game ever, but look at my favorite RPG.
Fucking Elden Ring.
Oh my god.
I remember when those videos came out, I was like, are you fucking stupid?
This is game of the year, brother. it's not.
This is game of the fucking decade.
Might be decade, yeah. Yeah, it's very true. There will still be people playing that game 10, 20 years from now.
Yeah. I think the potential solution that could be offered over time and has been available for some games is the ability for community servers and servers run by people that are licensed out from the developer. So this sort of thing already exists. It's very common for survival games. Like the amount of Minecraft servers that people run, where people can basically be gods over their own worlds and they'll let people come in and explore. Same thing for Conan, for Rust, for Ark. These are all very common. I believe that this needs to be expanded for other games. There have been, say, the one I've never gone into but always wanted to is Star Wars Galaxies. The MMO that came out in the early 2000s lives in this state now, where it's being run by community servers as it was intended, and running it as it was intended to be, where it was kind of a different style of MMO. Not to compete with WoW, but just to like, hey, here's the game premise that they wanted to accomplish. Come see if you like it.
I've never tried it. I would love to. Yeah, that would be fun.
Like, it's a very different kind of game. I've played a little bit of the community-run Titanfall 2 server, and it is so much fun.
Oh, wow.
They just, like, they kept everything that was integral to the core game, and then they started making new game modes and ideas that Respawn didn't have time to do or didn't have the resources to do. And they also, not the same devs, but the same concept was done for Call of Duty, for some of the older ones, where people were running custom clients to allow for better matchmaking, safe matchmaking that doesn't involve you getting fucking RC'd into oblivion. So, hey, COD devs, if you want the fix for your fucking hacking problem, let people run community servers.
Yeah, especially for those older games that they abandoned. Yeah.
Because I want to play Black Ops 1 multiplayer, but I can't if I value my fucking social security number.
Yeah, for real, dude. Oh my god. And that's the battle with Stop Killing Games, is that they're pushing for measures like this. And some developers feel like it's jeopardizing their IP or putting it in the hands of the community could be harmful. You know, like how Disney is so careful with Marvel and Star Wars and Mickey Mouse, and they don't want any of their properties to be defiled by fan art and fan-made games.
Any company that has that problem, go speak with Digital Extremes and listen to them talk about the value of having community involvement in your game. Your community needs to be a part of your game's atmosphere and add to what's going on. They They want to be part of your game. They love your game, sometimes even more than you love your game. So giving them the power to be able to do that and keep things that they love alive is valuable.
Very true. There's so many games that are just like unplayable, delisted, or licensing agreements change and things are pulled, and it's going to get a lot worse with digital media.
It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, especially with all the live
I would like
service.
to say on the I mentioned the game Depth.
Okay.
Somehow Depth is still receiving patches.
Oh my god.
They patched the game in July of this year to fix stuff.
Wow.
So the game is still alive. I have 3 copies of it in my Steam inventory that I can give to people. At some point, I want to do a one-off stream with you and the boys of playing Depth, because we don't have to play for all that long, but you just need to experience the what if scenario of what if this game actually stuck around. Because it was a really interesting concept.
Yeah, I like that idea. I think we could do that. I think we could pitch that to everyone. I think that sounds like a lot of fun. And so you're able to run a server, essentially?
So what you do is that you can just do private matchmaking, where you just matchmake with people that you invite, and nice thing about Depth is that they built in private matchmaking where empty slots are filled with bots.
Wow, that's cool. Okay.
So I've done many matches of Depths where I'm playing a shark, my other shark is an AI, and the 4 people I'm playing against are all AI.
Oh.
And I'm just playing a solo player game.
Really? Well, had I known that, I would have bought that shit.
I'm just gonna practice.
Yeah, that's so cool. Features like that.
Yeah, occasionally it's on sale, and the thing is, like, you can buy the game as itself or in a pack of 4 design, where you would buy one and then give other players a copy.
That's a good idea. That's actually really smart.
So, yeah, occasionally it goes on discount for like maybe $5, and for $5 it's worth getting.
Yeah, that's hard to argue against. Yeah. A good mess around game. We do have one more honorable mention, don't we?
The last honorable mention one.
All right. These are 10 takes from over 100 podcasts over the past 6 years. Crazy.
So, to go into books here, because I think many people are kind of coming into Warhammer 40k and wanting to, like, oh, there's so many books, where the fuck do I start?
Indeed.
So my recommendation goes like this.
Okay.
If you want a good starting book, you should pick up First and Only by Dan Abnett. It is a smaller story about a Imperial Guard segment from the Tanith First and Only Company on a particular Guard adventure war of just one particular galaxy. We follow like our main character of Imbram Gaunt and his ghosts, who are like his best soldiers. We follow their adventures through a particular conflict. We see them grow and get challenged by different things along the way. It's a really nice story that doesn't require any like pre-existing knowledge of 40k. You could jump into this book the first thing ever and get sort of an understanding of what's going on, but with opening up for more. So yeah, First and Only is a great starting point book. After you finish that, I'd say
pause
there's about
there.
3 paths that you can go on for books.
Okay. Interesting.
So yeah, I stand by this point. First and Only is the best starting point for any Warhammer 40k books. It is the first one you should pick up and see if you like 40k books, because they are all going to read in a similar fashion to that. So if you enjoy First and Only, it's a high likelihood that you will enjoy other Warhammer books.
And I absolutely love that book, and I bought a copy for my uncle who loves science fiction, and I've been buying him the Halo and Assassin's Creed books, and so I gave him the compilation, The Founding, which has First and Only and a couple others. And I was like,
other ones.
I think he's gonna love it when he gets to it.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause it is crazy. And now we're reading Hellreach, right?
Yes, I put you on. It's just like, all right, number 2, please read Hell's Reach.
Yeah.
I recently re-downloaded Hell's Reach onto my phone, because I'm going to be going away sort of the beginning of September to visit a friend.
Okay.
And on that trip down there, I'm going to re-listen to Hell's Reach to remind myself of what it was like, because I want to talk about it at some point in the future, because it is, I would say it's the best second book of 40k, because it is, I would argue that Hell's Reach is one of the best Space Marine introduction books.
Mm-hmm.
It gets you introduced to how Space Marine books are written, but it also does the best thing that any Space Marine book can do, where not every single chapter is focused on talking about what the Space Marines are doing. We're also focused on what the humans are doing at the same time, as a juxtaposition in terms of how they observe the conflict that is occurring.
Ooh, that's a good balance. I like that.
So I really like Hell's Reach, because the 3 more or less perspectives that you have in the game of the perspective from the Space Marines of the Black Templars, the perspective of some guardsmen people, and the perspective of an Imperator Titan crew are really cool perspectives of this conflict, because you're seeing things from very different power scales.
Absolutely.
It is also an introduction to Aaron Dembski Bowding's writing style and how he writes 40k books. Because I would argue he's my number 1 40k author. I've been recently re-listening to some of his Horus Heresy books, because he's really good. But I would say Hell's Reach is a good introductory of his style, and it is good to read a Loyalist Space Marine book before you go read a Heretic book.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So at some point in the future, we will discuss Hell's Reach.
Absolutely. I just gotta finish it up. It's been a busy couple weeks, but
yeah, you'll find a time when you have
just sit
time
back.
to sit there and listen to it.
Yeah. Well, what did we learn from today's episode? 10 takes from 100 podcasts and a discussion on accessibility, difficulty, live service games, the future of gaming, etc.
I think that a lot of our takes at that point in time were quite good, and then they have been refined and made a lot more focused in on what the particular critiques can be within a discussion or argument, both through exposure to events as they have happened throughout time, and also exposure to further examining and thinking about how we believe that argument to be true or not true, or so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I took more time to review the thoughts and to, as you said, kind of refine my thinking on things and talk about how to better present my thoughts on accessibility.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a big point of what I've done on the channel over the years, I've made videos on specific games and their accessibility options. We've talked about it on the podcast. I usually highlight it every time I start a new game. I go through all the settings and go through accessibility and see like how certain companies deal with it. Obviously, I feel PlayStation and a lot of their bigger owned studios have some of the best accessibility that is incredibly in depth for a wide berth of disability options that, you know, we just haven't seen across the board with some other developers. It may take an entirely specialized team and a lot of research and development
to do all that work. Yeah,
So-
I think Ubisoft has done a good job of
Yeah.
catching up and
Mhm.
adding more features as time has gone on.
They are.
I still really want to play Doom of the Dark Ages at some point, because
Yeah.
I remember seeing all of those
They did a lot.
accessibility options when we looked at when it was up for Game Awards and stuff, and was really impressed by the field of options that it gave you.
Mm-hmm. They did quite well. Well, 100 episodes in the bag, and we're starting. We got 101 now. Oh, man. So where do we go from here? That's the question. Because they give you the option to put your podcasts into seasons, and I was like, I don't even know if that's the right thing for me.
No,
Because it doesn't really evolve. It doesn't tell a different story. The arc isn't finished, per se.
Yeah. I'd say you've refined and worked on your process for how you like to do the podcast, and also come up with different versions of what it looks like, whether it's a news-focused one, a discussion with a guest, or a mix of the two.
Yeah, I really like that. I think that's been a key feature to refine. And some of the things that we didn't get to do today are some of the new ones that I've added, where it's like we have the news, we have reviews, we have what's happening on the channel. And then if I have a game I want to like theorize about what it would be like or what a new entry in this series would be. And then we talk about like what we're playing, what's upcoming. And then if I have a game to showcase, I've even started doing that on the pod, is as long as it doesn't have like licensed music, I usually try to thread that needle very carefully. And then, making sure that we're always interacting with the comments. But I think that new formula of having like a strict order of things and then adding these new things makes things very fresh, and people get excited about like, oh, well, I can't wait to see what this guy and the guest might be playing. So we might need to dive deeper into that on a future episode. But this is a very heavily topic-based episode where it's like we need to laser focus on flashbacks and learning from our experiences. Well, if you have no further thoughts, why don't you tell us about yourself and your channel and where everybody can find you?
Okay. So I'm acting Relic, as Aaron has said. I occasionally I need to get back into making more videos and stuff. I have all that breakpoint footage that I should edit at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I occasionally put out videos on YouTube, primarily. I guess at this point most of my videos that I've been putting out recently have been Warframe ones. And eventually I go back to working on my Breakpoint Subsistence series, and then I'm quite frequently a part of Aaron's streams for various games, either that he wants to play that I will jump in, or me coming to him and it's like, we should play this.
Man, and we've had some good times with all those games over the years. And I'm really super proud of our Monster Hunter World playthrough.
Yep.
That has been a project that is like the shining beacon on the hill right now of just like, that's something really cool that we did. What's the next mountain? Obviously, we're playing Wilds and Rise right now. So we are climbing other mountains, but there was really nothing like experiencing Monster Hunter for the first time and attempting to meet and defeat all the monsters.
All the monsters.
That was ambitious, and we did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
All right, gamers. Well, this has been Shackcast episode 101. I'd like to thank Andrew, Acting Relic, for the incredible idea here, and of course, a lot of the work over the weeks that has had to go into finding these takes and researching videos and figuring out some of our best moments and our best discussions and things that were worthy of talking about across 100 episodes is no small feat, and all the research that it takes to, for us to go back and listen to some of these and refine our thoughts. And this was definitely a labor of love over the past several weeks, so I want to thank him for that. So once again,
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Absolutely. And I appreciate it. It was such a cool, like, interesting idea that I was, like, immediately on board. I was like, I kept asking everybody, I was like, what should we do? Like, I don't want to buy a cake or something, like, I'm not like other podcasts where we might just do mini games or quizzes or tier lists. But, I mean, I like doing some of those things, but I think we needed something unique that really wraps up this first 100 episodes and, might even cause people to go back and revisit some of those and see what they think. So, many thanks for your work on that, and it helped to make it easier for me as well that we had such a good communication and formula for setting this up, and now we know how we could potentially do stuff like this in the future. So once again, thank you all for watching. This has been Shackcast episode 101. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click on Andrew's name in the title. You can head over and subscribe to his channel. You can find him on Twitch as well. And until next time, take care, be safe, have a good night. And I believe I'm going to do some Monster Hunter Outlanders. So for you night owls that want to see more of the Monster Hunter Outlanders beta, I'll be live on that after a short break. Thank you for watching. Take care. Be safe. Have a good night. Bye.